Coming up now on UK Student News Network, live at 4. Lawmakers have reached a compromise on the state budget. What does that mean for universities?
A shooting near campus last week left students worried. What is UK doing to keep its students safe?
After the Boston bombing, security measures have changed for this year's event.
And in sports, the Black Mamba made his exit with a bang, and Chef Curry did his thing. I'll have that and more.
UK Student News Network, live at 4, starts now.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Evan Botkin.
And I'm Caitlin Schwartz. We begin tonight in Frankfurt. Lawmakers were up early this morning, coming to an agreement.
Kentucky lawmakers have finally reached a budget deal. At 2:45 this morning, the Senate and House agreed on a $21 billion budget.
The plan will cut higher education by 4.5% over 2 years. It will also fund the scholarship program for students seeking two-year degrees.
If there is a mid-year cut, which is kind of part from the two-year budget, if there is a mid-year cut, we would handle that within the context of the current year. That is not something that would impact financial aid or tuition or anything like that, because we have to handle it. It's a non-recurring cut. We have to handle it in the context of the current year.
There is also room in the bill for the expansion of the Lexington Center. The budget will now go to the governor's desk. He is expected to sign it. The university is trying to permanently close Rose Street and Woodland, and that is creating a lot of concern. If the university closes these streets, it will cause an overflow of traffic into surrounding neighborhoods. The new Sports Center drive off Woodland is supposed to absorb some of the overflow of traffic. The university says the closing of Rose Street will help with pedestrian and bicycle safety. Anthony Gaither joins us in the studio with more on how the university is planning to keep the campus safe. Anthony?
Thank you, Caitlin. 2 UK students have been shot dead within the past 2 years, leaving students and staff concerned for their well-being. The university says safety is a top priority on and off campus.
There's been a huge investment in safety on campus, and we're going to continue to invest more. At the same time, I think we're constantly trying to assess where we are in terms of what we do with safety. We're constantly trying to educate students, faculty, and staff about safety issues.
Blanton said the university can't speak about the shooting that left one UK student dead last week because it is still an ongoing investigation. UKPD and Lexington Police are partnering to solve the crime. Earlier today, I called UK Police and no one was available for comment.
The Morehead State University Faculty Senate voted to censor President Wayne Andrews. This 23-11 vote signaled the faculty's displeasure with the lack of faculty input on major campus decisions. Andrews said he was disappointed by the vote, but not surprised. Since then, Senate leadership has met with the president and administration to pave a production path forward. Their goal is to work together to protect and preserve the academic mission of the university in these challenging times. The Keeneland Spring Session is upon us. The horses are running and the people are excited. Sean Bowdy has more on the return of the races.
And they're off.
Keeneland is back. This illustrious springtime affair has a huge draw to the people of Lexington. One reason?
To win some money?
And even a little cold and a sprinkle of rain isn't going to keep people away.
I think everybody comes in here with a mindset that they think they can win something. So, you know, a little weather's not going to stop them.
But there's more to it than just a little money.
Opening day at Keeneland isn't always about the action on the track. It's actually about people and the traditions that go along with it.
There's like Rupp Arena and then there's Keeneland. Like those are the two big things to do in Lexington. Getting older, I was like, I'm going to go bet at Keeneland. I'm going to go sit in the student section at UK. And that's what I'm doing now.
Keeneland also has a reach outside of Kentucky.
We're from North Carolina and wanted to experience it. To see these animals and the trainers and the jockeys and see again, it's the whole package.
And what is Keeneland without a couple Kentucky favorites?
We are loving the bourbon and the burgoo.
And don't forget the bluegrass.
Keeneland continues this weekend and the weather's already looking to hold up better than the last.
Keeneland continues today through Sunday. The last day of the spring session is Friday, April 29th.
The Boston Marathon is coming up and security is stronger than ever. And President Obama talks ISIS. But first, to top our national news this evening, we'll be updating you on the Flint water crisis. Lawmakers have agreed to a bipartisan energy bill. Many hope it would address the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and the Flint measure would provide $250 million to the repairs of their lead-leaching water lines. in addition to dealing with the city's residents' health issues. Russian unarmed fighter jets had two close encounters with the USS Donald Cook in the Baltic Sea. One of the jets flew within 75 feet of the U.S. ship's superstructure. The U.S. European Command says they have deep concerns about the unsafe and unprofessional Russian flight maneuvers. These occurrences have become increasingly common in recent months. The U.S. Department of Defense has now deployed additional military assets throughout European countries that share a border with Russia. President Obama took a rare trip to the CIA headquarters Wednesday. He said the, quote, depraved nature of the organization only brings the world together. He also discussed how the U.S. and other countries are teaming up.
And we're going to be sending teams to other countries so that we keep improving border security and screening of travelers and share more information. Because even the smallest gap, when critical information is not shared or when a potential terrorist slips through the cracks, can be deadly.
Obama proposed coalition efforts to interrupt key supply routes between Syria and Iraq. Obama said he is working to better explain his efforts against ISIS, particularly in this area.
Boss is making sure its signature marathon is safe this year. In response to recent terror, the FAA has banned drones from the Boston Marathon. The National Nuclear Security Administration will be monitoring the event for unusual activity. In 2013, 3 were killed and hundreds were injured when the marathon was bombed. This year's run is scheduled for Monday. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump accuses the Republican National Committee of conspiring against him. But first, we'll take a look at Trump's manager to top off this evening's political news. Donald Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, will not be prosecuted for battery. A former reporter, Michelle Fields, sought charges against Lewandowski in March, saying he pulled her away from Trump as she was trying to ask a question. The news is a sigh of relief for Trump's campaign. However, Fields may still seek defamation charges.
Donald Trump is now attacking the head of the Republican Party. This comes after a tough loss in Colorado last week. He believes that the nomination process is set up for him to lose because the rules vary from state to state.
Our Republican system is absolutely rigged.
After hearing the news of what Mr. Trump said, the chairman for the Republican National Committee, Reince Priebus, stood up for himself and the RNC.
But I do have to respond, though, when a campaign says that the RNC is, rigging the rules. It's just not the case. The rules have been set. They're in place. They're not going to change in these states. And they're the same, for the next state, New York, they're all out there. Everyone knows what the rules are.
As a Democrat presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders' path to the nomination is narrowing down. His tone has become sharp. Tonight's debate could be a make or break moment for Sanders if his tone remains what it has been in recent weeks, especially towards Hillary Clinton. Bernie called Clinton, quote, unqualified, so tonight should be interesting. JetBlue is trying to find ways to keep their customers.
Retail sales have dropped and keeping a job these days is difficult. Christina Buswell has more next.
In consumer news, employers are worried about job hopping.
And are you ready for this? You can get some flights for free. Christina Buswell joins us now in the studio with details. Christina?
Thank you, Kate. That's right, travelers can now fly round trip for free, but you better act fast. JetBlue is picking 500 travelers from the states of California and New York who have never flown JetBlue before. Winners will be able to fly between New York, San Francisco, Long Beach, Los Angeles, or Las Vegas. Those interested can enter the sweepstakes by filling out a form online at JetBlue's website. Americans apparently did not shop enough last month. Economists think this may be a red flag. Retail sales have dropped 0.3% in March compared to February, and economists say they were expecting to see an increase. Since Americans are saving rather than spending, economists are worried that the economic growth could slow down even further. In the new normal for millennials, changing jobs up to 4 times in the first decade out of college. The constant job hopping is nearly double the generation before. These college grads aren't just changing jobs, but changing industries. Who are the biggest hoppers? Those who work in entertainment, government, nonprofits, and media. Younger millennials are now on track to surpass 4 job changes by the time they turn 32. That's all for your Consumer Report. Reporting live from the studio, I'm Christina Buswell. Evan, Caitlin.
We have Chase Shire up next with sports. Could you tell us a little bit what you have going on this week?
I'll have the story on a legendary player having a legendary night.
All coming up next after the break.
We have Chase Shire in the studio with us tonight for sports. Chase, let me just toss sports right over to you. Kobe, tell us what he did last night.
Kobe, it's sad to see a legend go, so sad but so soon. But let's go ahead and get into the highlights. As we heard, last night he walked off the court for a final time. Kobe Bean Bryant participated in his 1,346th game as the Los Angeles Lakers took on the Utah Jazz. We picked the game up with a minute left in the fourth. After Kobe has already eclipsed the 50-point mark, he goes down the court and fires up a three and pulls the Lakers to within one. On the very next Lakers possession, Kobe does what he does his whole entire career and puts the Lakers over the top for a final time. The five-time NBA champion got pulled with 4.1 seconds left to a standing ovation. He finished the game with his fifth 60-point game, the right way for a legend to leave the game he loves. Steph Curry was doing Steph Curry things last night, and as he and the Golden State Warriors won their 73rd game and broke the 10-year-long record held by the Chicago Bulls for most wins in an NBA season. Chef Curry was hot in the first quarter, having 18 of his 46 points while shooting 6 of 9 from behind the three-point line. And on this shot, the chef even had time to cook some burgers. Curry also made history. Earlier this year, he was the first person to make 300 threes in a season. Last night, he also became the first person to make 400 threes in a season. On this shot right here, the defending champs ended up winning the game 125-104. Graduation is among the university, which means many students and athletes are moving on. Evan Botkin got to speak with senior swimmer George Greenhalgh and how the sport has impacted his life.
For most, swimming is just a sport, but not for George Greenhalgh. It's life. But that wasn't always the case.
My family had a rule of you had to pick one sport. You didn't have to pick the same sport every year, but our parents wanted us to be active.
George holds 6 school records but didn't start swimming until his junior year of high school when he picked up swimming in the summertime. It was his family that played a big role when it came to swimming year-round.
It's something that my brother and I have always bonded over because he swam as well. And he's kind of the reason I started swimming and I still swim. So I think that's how he became so close to me, just bonding with my brother.
To ensure the next generation of swimmers had the same chances that he had, George became the head coach for a kids' swim team.
It's nice to give back because once upon a time I was one of those kids. And it's really easy for me to look at those kids and a lot of the time it feels just really nice being able to coach other people and see what other people can do and kind of give back to the community.
Graduating in May, George is training for Olympic trials this summer and planning on moving into the professional world. But swimming is still on the back of his mind.
I'd really like to be a swim coach and continue that aspect of my life, but I haven't crossed that bridge quite yet.
George is planning on going into sales, but it's clear that swimming will remain a major part of his life. For UK Student News Network, I'm Evan Botkin.
George is ending his season by breaking his top time at 52.21 seconds for the 100-yard breaststroke. For more information on your favorite UK sports and athletes, you can visit ukathletics.com. Last night, the 23rd ranked UK baseball team hosted the 7th ranked Louisville Cardinals at the Cliff, and the result was in favor of Louisville as the Redbirds won 9-6. However, there are no days off as the Wildcats go on the road this weekend and start a 3-game series with 4th ranked Vanderbilt. The 12th ranked UK softball team was in a nail-biter against the Colonels of Eastern Kentucky last night. Both teams, who were playing behind stellar pitching performances, didn't get going until late as the Colonels scored their only run in the 4th. But in the bottom of the 6th, Abby Cheek drives one over the right field wall for what would turn out to be the game winner as the Cats won 2-1. Former UK basketball coach Tubby Smith is moving on to his 3rd job since his departure from the Wildcats in 2007. Next year, he will be coaching the University of Memphis. The coach, who has won national championship, which was here at Kentucky, has 557 coaching victories with a 67% winning percentage. Who says that all athletes are dumb? Yesterday, 4 UK athletic teams, which is a school record, were honored by the NCAA for their academic progress rate, which measures academic eligibility, retention, and graduation. The 4 teams that were in the top 10%, which is how you receive the honor, were men's basketball and golf, women's cross country, and the rifle team. Congratulations to all the student athletes involved. With the flower blooming and the weather turning nicer, that can only mean one thing: time for some spring football. And the Wildcats will be participating in their annual spring game this Saturday as the blue team will take on the white team. It will be the first time that the players will get to play a full game, and we will really get to see how the offense looks under new offensive coordinator Eddie Graham. The game will kick off at noon at Commonwealth Stadium. Always excited for football to be right around the corner, especially in spring now that all the other sports have kind of coming to an end. So football's always fun.
Always a good time.
Absolutely, and it seems like it's already back. It's crazy. Well, it looks like spring has arrived. Let's see if it's here to stay. Morgan Henry has your weather forecast after the break.
Morgan Henry joins us in the studio. Morgan, we're having some amazing weather today. Please tell us that the weekend's going to be just like it.
It's beautiful and the weekend will be even better. Let's go ahead and take a look outside. As you can see, the flowers are in full bloom, and again on Monday it'll be a beautiful weekend. Make sure everybody gets a chance to get outside, do something, because the weather is going to be great, you all.
Makes me that much more excited for the weekend. Coming up next, a mom gives her daughter the best present she could ask for. We have that story next. A military mom who missed the holidays and most of the school year reunited with her two daughters in Virginia this Wednesday.
The mother's return was a complete surprise to the kids, but their school was in on the special reunion. Michelle Miller surprised her daughters ages 7 and 9 after more than half a year deployed overseas. This was her third deployment and possibly the most difficult for her and her family. They spoke often on the phone via FaceTime and on Skype, but nothing compares to a warm welcome home. What a heart-filled story.
I could not imagine being away from my mom for that long, and just to communicate with her over technology, it'd just be so sad, you know?
I bet the reunion was great.
I know, but good thing that we have technology nowadays that will allow us to do that.
It's a smaller planet, you know?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Always FaceTiming my grandmother.
Oh, yes, the grandmas love the FaceTime these days. Well, thank you from all of us in the studio. I'm Caitlin Schwartz.
And I'm Evan Botkin. Thank you for joining us.